I love it. So we're going to talk playoffs and look back at Game 7 and look ahead to these conference finals. But we're in a couple of really good debates here, Coach. And so in terms of SGA winning MVP, AM picked SGA for MVP. Me and Dwight have Wemby. Who was your MVP this year, Coach?
Well, I still would have gone with SGA. Wemby, is coming, and he will win his share of MVPs in the future. But SGA is at the top of his game, 30 plus points per game. And you can talk about the shot blocking and everything, which is very, very important. I think that's why San Antonio is in the conference finals because of him and his defense. But when I look at them, and I said this earlier, that I didn't know if they shot the ball well enough to win the championship or beat somebody like OKC. But they've shown that those young guys get to the basket and make plays for themselves and for other people. And Wemby runs the court. He's offensive rebounding. He's getting alley oops. He's shooting threes. He does it all. He's a unique player for sure. But you made a comment before I came on air about he's the greatest weapon ever in history. I'd like to take you back to Shaquille O'Neal. I would like to see that matchup today.
Agreed.
I'd like to see Wilt and Wemby. I'd like to see Kareem and Wemby. I mean, we can get, a little bit off kilter with our praise and everything. But I say that each one of those guys in their era was unstoppable. Unstoppable. And when Wemby starts getting 100
step back and hit a three-pointer, though. I want to see Shaq and Wilt and maybe Kareem could have done it at some point, but I want to see Shaq and Wilt step back.
Now you want to talk about skill set. We never said that he didn't have the most diverse skill set.
Right.
He does. He shoots threes. He puts it on the floor. He goes behind his back, between his legs. But a mano, I'm taking those guys over Wemby at this point.
Okay.
And I'm like you. Whoever said it, I love watching the Spurs play. Yeah, I love the way they play. They grind it out on defense and just tear you apart. And then they get out and run. They attack the basket. And then they shoot threes. And usually it's just the three-point shooters are shooting threes. Everybody's not shooting threes, which you don't see very often in the NBA no more. But go ahead.
So, Coach, this is Dwight here. You said that Wembanyama is coming. So are you giving SGA the MVP? Or are you saying Wembanyama has to earn it before winning the award?
Well, I think if you just look at the numbers, SGA had another bona fide season. You can't take that away from him because Wemby's on the scene and everybody's enamored about his skill and how he plays and that he's going to be the next and the next. You could say, well, we should give it to him now. But, there's time for that. So I am saying SGA is still the MVP. And let's go back to Joker. Joker has not won much since they won the championship. And he wasn't winning before they won the championship. They had a perfect storm team around him. And whoever was at fault for breaking it up, and sometimes finances cause that, he hasn't really done much. And if you look in the playoffs this year, he struggled mightily. But they still got through a couple of rounds. But I just don't, I don't see him on that level of being the best player anymore. I would love to play with him because you just throw it to him and run and cut, right? You don't have to shake and bake and beat somebody off the dribble. You just give it to him, and that's how I play when I play with Bill Walton. Just throw the ball to Bill and cut. You're gonna get the ball back. You're gonna get a layup. It's the easiest bucket in the NBA or in basketball period. So, but yes, I'm still giving it to SGA, and it's tight. We're not talking about leaps and bounds. And I heard somebody talk about the having to go through being beaten and all. I hear all the NBA players say that they didn't win because they weren't good enough.
That's my point. Wins. I agree.
Last year, OKC was the second youngest team in the NBA to win a championship. And I'm going to brag after our Trailblazers were the youngest team in the NBA. And we had never been in the playoffs. The Blazers in 6 years had never been in the playoffs. In seventh year, we go to the playoffs, we win the championship. We didn't take a defeat. We didn't have to learn. We were the best team. We played together as a team. We defended, we rebounded, and we ran, and nobody could stay with us. It's not about going through the tragedy of defeat and all this other stuff. It's about, are you ready to win?
We know where this is coming from, Coach. It's because Michael Jordan couldn't beat the Pistons for 3 years. So the narrative became you got to get your heart broken, you got to get your ass beaten in before you win. That's where that started.
And Isaiah with the Pistons too. Remember all the stuff he had to go through.
No, it wasn't had to go through. They were not good enough to beat Boston.
Okay, I got you.
If you go back to the 1 year they were supposed to win, where the game was at the end, and all Isaiah had to do was get the ball inbound, and the game is over. He throws it away to Larry Bird. Larry Bird gives it to Dennis Johnson, and they win the game.
Yep.
Is that going through something? You have to learn when to throw the ball in bounds and who to throw it to.
I love
it.
But I just think that, and I think about the Phoenix Suns. I was assistant coach with Phoenix, and we had an unbelievable team. And we were called the Young Guns. And we destroyed all the Western teams except for we couldn't get by the Lakers. When we finally get by the Lakers, right, we can't get by the Portland Trail Blazers. We never became the team that was supposed to be. And I love what Pat Riley says. Pat says, you're not the team until you're the team. They could talk about it. Utah Jazz never won a championship. The Portland Trail Blazers never won a championship with the great players that they had because they never were the team. There's always somebody better. And that's you can say, well, if this hadn't happened, if that hadn't, they were the best team for that moment. And just like I look at Cleveland and Detroit yesterday, Detroit, best record in the league, went into Cleveland, beat them, came home. All they have to do is show up in a very consistent manner to how they had played all year. Didn't happen. So they're not the team.
They're not the team.
Next year they're going to be back? We don't know that. Unless they get some different players to help them improve, they may not.
Aya, before you come in here, I gotta bring the late great Johnny Most into the conversation. There's a steal by Bird underneath the DJ. He lays it in. What a play by Bird! This place is going crazy. All right, Johnny Most.
That
we appreciate you dropping.
I thought you were going way back to when Havlicek.
That was awesome.
What's that, Lionel?
I thought you were going way back to when Havlicek. I mean, when Havlicek stole the ball.
Yeah,
and they won that.
He can do that too.
I can do that one too.
No, we're good. We're good.
He said we're good. Okay, yeah, come on in here with a question. I love it.
Okay, I've been thinking about this all day, and I'm so glad we've spoken about the Spurs and we've kind of landed on them and talking about Wemby, because to me, the real story are the two 6'6", 215 guards, back-to-back years in Steph Castle and Dylan Harper. I want to hear from you, Coach Hollins. If you had these guys under your wing right now as a coach, what is your 3-year plan with both of them? I mean, the Spurs have struck gold clearly early, mined a little. They were hoping for a little nugget, and here they are with just a fountain of yellow coming out. Please, what would your next 36 months look like?
Let me put some context on it, because if you take Wemby out, everybody's talking about they got to grow and they got to learn and they got to do this here. They've been great.
Thank you.
Castle was a rookie of the year last year. And next year, somebody on the Spurs will not be there because the other kid, Harper, is going to have a place. And that's just how it goes. He's younger. He's obviously better. And he's really good. He's the second pick in the draft this year. Castle in college was great. And he brought it right to the NBA. I think that my plan would be to keep challenging them to get better in other areas. Mm-hmm. They're both really good defenders. They're both attack the basket and make unbelievable plays. They both pass the ball. I think their perimeter game has to be improved. Harper's a little bit further along, even though he's younger. Not by much, but he's a little bit further along shooting the three. But the last game, Castle looks like Oscar Robertson out there. You know, I mean, he's driving, he's shooting, he's playing defense, he's passing, he does, and he rebounds. You know, people neglect his rebounding, but he contributes a lot to the rebounding. You know, when everybody's trying to throw Wemby to the ground, but it's just challenged them to get better and to stay focused and to add something new to their game. All the great players come back. Everybody really comes back with something, but most people have limitations, and when their limitation is at the top of the ceiling, then they're going to have a better chance to get there if they keep improving and keep working and stay focused and stay involved. And then obviously the last thing is health. But if I were coaching those two guys, I was just telling somebody, this is not a knock on my guys because I love my guys. But when we were playing in the seventh game against the OKC Thunder, when they had all their guys, we started Sam Young, Tony Allen at the wings.
Yeah.
Those, and neither one of them were great shooters. But what they did in the other areas with their toughness, their physicality, and their defense and their rebounding, and then we had Zach and Mark, and we were better. But you know, these guys are on a different, another level. I mean, I love them, and I love to watch them play just as much as I love to watch OKC play.
Hey, Coach. Hold on,
Hey,
Rick,
hey
Coach.
Dwight, can I quickly follow? Can I quickly follow, Dwight? Because I love. Pardon me. I love the AM question. But we've talked about this, Coach, and a real light bulb went on when you said, you know, you got to make room for Dylan. So
That's where I was
should
going.
we? Oh, okay. So okay, then take it from here. That I didn't mean to. Let me see if we're on the same page, Dwight. Continue the thought here.
So I appreciate that, Rick. So where I was going, Coach, there's a method to AM's question to you, because AM has been on this train for the last several months. He feels that in order for the aforementioned Dylan Harper and Steph Castle to develop and evolve, De'Aaron Fox can't be in the picture, right? So he feels that the Spurs have to make a tough decision, get off of Fox's contract, and let Dylan Harper and Steph Castle run the Spurs alongside Victor Wembanyama going forward. So there's a method to that question. I'm not trying to call AM some kind of prophet, but he was leading you in that direction. So
Well, he didn't have to lead me. He didn't have to lead me. I've been saying that all along. I think that
there you go.
if you look at the Spurs, Castle has been the point guard all year long.
Oh yeah.
They throw it to him a little bit, De'Aaron. De'Aaron is a scorer, but they got another guy that's bigger and stronger and better defensive player that's waiting in the wings. But you don't even have to start Harper. It could be one of those other guys they decide to start. But you made the point about the money. Money always matters, and especially in smaller markets. And San Antonio has been wizards at managing money. They've gotten some of their best players to take less, and they've also jettisoned some people that they couldn't afford or didn't want to afford, because sometimes those guys aren't as good as the money says they are. And that's why you have to open that door and say, thanks for your efforts, but goodbye. But I already told you who I think I would get rid of. And he's not get rid of him. It is still a good player. And I wouldn't say, you'd have to get something decent that's of value that you need. What do they need? They probably need another big guy. One with a little bit more girth, that when everybody's trying to bang or Wemby gets in foul trouble, they can come with some guy that can lean on some people and throw some people around. But he has to be in the mold of what they are and how they play. They play small a lot, with Wemby being the only big guy out there. And Cornet has done a great job behind him. And, when you got thoroughbreds out there running, the wings and the point and attacking the basket like they do, and then they spray the ball out, and you got Vassell and Camponi shooting threes, and sometimes De'Aaron's making threes, and sometimes Harper and Castle make threes. And when they're making shots, you're not beating them, because you're not going to be able to score against them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bring back Marc Gasol, coach.
Mark is enjoying his life. Leave him alone.
I know.
he said
He
leave
doesn't
him
want any part.
alone.
He doesn't want
Good
any part of this NBA. Come on, he's enjoying himself over in Spain. He's got his own team,
There
lives
you
a
go.
good life with his kids, man.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Coach, I want to go. We have the great Lionel Hollins hanging out with us. Blessed to have him on our show, Beyond the Surface on the X-Rated Sports Network. Coach, we began the show talking about Game 7 last night. Were you more surprised? And so overall, like the series, Cavaliers winning, Pistons losing, Pistons the 1 seed, they're out. Okay. So overall, are you more sort of disappointed in the Pistons or surprised that the Cavaliers are all the way here in the conference finals?
No, I thought the Cavaliers, see, they've said that about the Cavaliers. Oh, they had to lose and experience pain to get back this year. No, they just weren't good enough last year. And they almost weren't good enough this year. The 7th game, there was one big change that I don't think many people even recognize. They kept talking about the 2 big guys, but it was Donovan Mitchell attacking the basket at will, get 6 assists in the first quarter, and passing to the big guys. Now all of a sudden, Detroit's defense is stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Do you give more help over here on him, right? Now you do that with him, and you got James Harden who can make threes, right? And then Sam Merrill steps up and makes all those threes. That's like in a boxing match, and I know all of you have been to boxing matches, and I say this all the time. There's a championship fight, and both guys out there, and they're bam, bam, and hitting each other, and all of a sudden, one of them gets hit in the temple, and he's done. And that's what happened to Detroit yesterday. They were in the battle early. It was a close game, and they just kept getting hit. And then Sam Merrill kept making threes. And now the dam burst. And they don't know where to turn because you play a certain way and you have a style that beats up on everybody and destroys the other people's will. Now your will gets stolen. And they have to add some offense, obviously, to their team. But the bigs, I'm like, those bigs, what, I had 49 points and 19 rebounds. Donovan didn't start the game shooting threes. He started the game attacking the basket. And they probably couldn't have kept him out of the paint all series long. But, I'm going to throw Embiid in here. Sometimes those guys that can shoot threes like to shoot them all the time. And it's not what's best for the team. But I thought he grew up as a player and became what you would love your superstar to do, to elevate everybody else around him. If you watch SGA, he rarely starts off scoring every time down court. He's passing the ball. You don't take it out of my hand. I'm going to give it to somebody. Now you got to go play that guy. Now they attack and they score. Now you're leery of double teaming me. Now I'm going to work with less defense on me.
Amber, Dwight, you got another one for Coach?
I want to talk about the Grizzlies a little bit. I want to talk about that 3rd pick. Talk about what do you see? What are you thinking? What would you rather have on the team in the direction moving forward over their next 3 years?
Can I put a disclaimer on it? This is,
Yeah.
I don't really care, and it's not my problem. But, people ask me that every day. I can't even go to the store. I can't go to church. I can't go anywhere without something.
Yeah, of course.
What I'm hearing is, and the Grizzlies are very good at not speaking to the media and sharing any information. You can't find anything. But what I am hearing is it's going to be the Boozer kid because they're going to try to replace Triple J. And he's going to be on a rookie contract, so it's going to be a lot cheaper. He's a lot younger. He's going to be a lot amenable to the coaching that they have on staff at the moment, Tomas. So, just hope that he pans out. I mean, everybody's looking at all these guards, right? Peterson, A-Cup. I mean, we always just say guards are a dime a dozen. And, if it's what you need, you go get it. But if you think you're going to get this player because he's going to be the best player in the league, he's usually going to be a very good player, not the best player. Not many people thought that SGA was going to be the best player in the league, the MVP, when he was when he came out and when he was with the
Oh yeah, there's no question about that.
Memphis is
So
fascinating though, because if I may, Dwight, I want to follow up with this and then we'll go with it, because it's not just about that third pick or where Memphis is at, but like they're a team now. I mean, besides Ja, who they've made it clear they want off the team, you're talking about Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Sante Adama as your number 2 and 3 guys taking up cap. That's all. Like, really, Memphis is a clean slate. That's why they're a fascinating team. I mean, obviously, your history with them in this. The other, I think it's worth discussing them because they're a fascinating team.
If the right decisions are made and they can get rid of the right guys, they are a clean slate. But, if they are not able to get rid of those guys, they could be in the same ballpark. And without Triple J, without Bain, 2 guys that were really good for them, but they kept going to the well and they couldn't, get the water out of the well. So a decision was made that they had to cut bait with the money, and that's what they did.
Yep.
And now they're still trying, and whether it happens or not, I don't believe they really want to trade Ja. He's the only thing left that draws people in the stand. And they're only having, late in the season, they were drawing 7,000-8,000 people, right? And so he wasn't there to give that boost to attendance. But in fact, I saw him yesterday at the AAU game here. But the thing is that he has to play, and he has to produce winning basketball. Entertaining basketball is great, only if you also win with it. But if you're just exciting the crowd and getting everybody ooh ah, and you're still losing, because they were losing when he was there, and then when he came back, they had stretches where they won when he was there, and he's a great player. But it has to be some growth by him, some discipline by him, and some deciding not necessarily who he wants to be, but what he wants in his legacy of this league, because he's been 7-8 years already, and I think the most game he's played is 59 games his first year. That's not very many. And you want to be a winner or you want to be an entertainer. So far, he's chosen the entertaining role. He has the ability to do the other role. I think they just, this is one of my beefs with the league. They anoint players before they earn the right to be anointed. Not that he wasn't going to be anointed, but make him earn it, because he came in, they're selling him to the public and he turns out to be pretty good and all of this here. But there was no accountability or control. Not just him, but many guys on the team. That's like I read an article after Ja got suspended. Everybody said, "Oh yeah, we were having team meetings and trying to get them to quit hanging out on the road." Well, you don't think the coach knew that? You don't think the front office knew that? What are they doing? So they have to be held accountable as well, and that's why, as you look at the Miami Heat, are they a great group of players? No, but they go out and they maximize their talent, and they're right there every year. The Spurs used to do that, right? Even though they were sliding and couldn't make the playoffs, they were still right there because the culture of the organization superseded the individual's desire to just be great by himself. They didn't allow it. What did Pat Riley tell Jimmy Butler? Shut up and play. You weren't even in the series, so how are you going to tell the other team that we're going to beat y'all? I mean, these are just simple accountability rules that, if you were a parent, hopefully you would insist on that. And if you have a standard and you have culture, they got to be enforced, because then there's no standard and there's no culture if you don't enforce them. You can't put sayings up on the wall, we do this and we do that, if they're not doing it. So I don't know the coach that they have. I've never met him. And, I know the team has what they call a lot of depth. They've been calling that for 3 years, but they never seem to have depth when people are injured. That bothers me. If you put guys in the game when your best players are injured and they can't help you win, then they weren't really depth. They were just players that came off the bench and held the fort until the big guys came back.
Coach, I'm with you, Coach, when you talk about John Morant. I know that there's stuff off the floor, but to me, I don't think. I'm sure they're concerned about it, but his ability to be available is what has curtailed John Morant more than anything. as far as I'm concerned. And that's why I think I'm in the minority when I say I don't think Memphis is trying to get off of Morant. That may prove to be different this summer, but I think they're trying to find a running mate. And to your point, I want to go back to Cam Boozer. Boozer is being maligned because he's not athletic, can't jump over a quarter, this, that, and the third. But if you just break down his game and his skill set and his IQ for the game, I think he'd be a pretty good running mate for John Morant in Memphis. So I concur with your opinion on that. I don't know if that's a direction they want to go to. I'm not even sure if Boozer will be available at 3 for Memphis, right? So because there's gonna be talk at the top between the Wizards and the Jazz in regards to AJ DeBansa, and then I think it's a crapshoot after that. Whether you believe or don't believe in Darren Peterson, I think most believe in Cam Boozer, and then there's the uncertainty in regards to Caleb Wilson and all the prospects down the line after that. So I think, and again, I'm on your page. I think Boozer would be the perfect running mate if you still have belief and want to build around John Morant.
Well, just a little bit of difference. They had JJJ, Jaron Jackson
Yes.
Jr., and he was supposed to be the running mate. He didn't always show up, you know. But the way that Ja plays, he gets hurt just by getting knocked to the floor, falling to the floor, running into people because he's slight built. So he has to adjust his game that way. But I think the AJ DeBonsta would fit Ja better because if the coach wants to run, this guy can run, he can handle, he can pass, he can shoot, he can score. You know, is Boozer going to be a limited scorer because he has to play a certain way? I don't know, but I didn't see extraordinary athleticism when he was at Duke. And you know, there's an athletic league, but doesn't mean that he can't be great because everybody knocked Larry Bird's lack of athleticism, but Larry Bird was all time great. So I'm not saying that Boozer can't do all these things, but I think they need a higher powered Maserati, you know, out there on the court with Josh, so he can run, throw alley oops, and you know he can get alley oops from the other guy, you know, and I think trying to build their team out uh, so they can play fast. They want to play fast. They want to shoot a bunch of threes, and I don't know if adding Boozer helps that cause. Not that he wouldn't be a good player.
Coach, who you got, Knicks or Cavs in the Eastern Conference Finals, and how many games?
Well, I'm hoping that the Knicks win and get to the finals again before all their old fans pass away. But
Real
but
talk. Real
you know, I
talk.
think
53 years, Coach. It's been 53 years.
yeah, and that's a long time, and they've been close. But here's the thing: I look at the matchup as Cleveland's got Donovan Mitchell, who's physically gifted, and you know, skill wise, he's very talented. They got James Harden, who is not what James Harden used to be, but James Harden could pick up the slack on most nights, like he did in Detroit in Game 5. He really was the key to that game. They're big guys. How are the Knicks going to deal with their big guys? Because the Knicks like to play small as well, but you know they're tough, and they've been through the battle, and they're hungry, and a lot of times that makes a difference. You know, it's not so much that they uh, had to learn, but they've gotten beat because they weren't good enough, and they know their window is closing as well. So I, I always do this. I always have a feeling for who's going to win, but then who I want to win. I think Cleveland's going to win, but I want New York to win.
Real wow.
Wow. Wow.
If Donovan Mitchell comes out and gets to the basket, and those two big guys are there, and they also block shots on the other end. I mean, we talk about Wemby's defense, Cleveland's defense. It's just got to be a game plan that becomes their DNA. And I saw it in that one game, and seen it before in some games during the season, but you don't see it consistently. It's like, you know, I got to be that man. I got to be the guy that everybody talks about the 30 points and whatever ever. But winning the game might take a little bit of sacrifice on Donovan's perspective, just to make sure that all those guys are in there because they can score. It's not like they got big guys that can't make layups. I mean, I've seen that many nights on TV as well. Can't even throw the ball to them, can't catch it, can't finish. So you got two guys that are very skilled, and you got two guards that are very skilled, and then you got some perimeter players that can really shoot the ball. Max Strus got hot one night. I think he thought he was hot last night too. He started out shooting the ball.
Right. Right.
0 for 2, and then Merrill
Agreed.
took over. Right, and
Mhm.
then Wade can make shots. So they've got what it takes to win it. It's just, can they be consistent in their style of play? Can they be consistent in their effort? And are they going to defense on the same level that they? It's easy, not easy. It's easier to defend a team that doesn't have a lot of weapons that you have to worry about.
Correct.
They took Cade Cunningham out of the game, and contrary to what Charles and Shaq and all those guys talk about with the young kid Durden gets dunks on alley oops and drop offs. They're not throwing the
Scraps.
ball. And he got 19 because Cade Cunningham is really, really good. And with their defense, getting steals and running, he can run and finish. But to say that he should be averaging more points when the opportunities aren't there in those situations is an untruth.
So, Coach, I hear a lot of pro Cleveland in there. And so, but if you have a feeling that the Cavs are going to win this series, I'm sensing that maybe there's some hesitation or maybe a concern that you have on the New York side. You know, like
Well,
is
no, I know what New York's going to do. They're going to put Bridges on Harden, and they're going to put Hart on Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
And then my man
Yeah.
Brunson float around on one of the shooters who don't really move much.
who's OG guarding?
Who?
Who's OG going to
is
guard? Mobley?
OG is guarding Mobley.
Yeah,
That's who he's going to guard, and
that's a tough.
He'll probably do a good job because he's physical and he's athletic. But the kid is very talented. He showed it when he got the ball in the post. They're not bad. They're not able to stop him. Not just in drop-offs, but then they throw it to him and he goes in there, he shoots a left hand, and he's a good player, and he's growing.
Do you have
It's just
Carl
going to come
Anthony?
down.
Do you have Carl Anthony Towns concerns at all for this series?
Yeah, because he's going to try to bully. He's going to try to bully. He's going to try to bully whoever's guarding. He gets the ball, he shows it, and he puts his head down. And he drives to the basket, and he runs over 3 people, and he gets a foul. And if he's making threes, it's going to be even harder. And I'm not knocking it. That's what I see when I see him play.
Yeah.
Everybody runs out there and tries to take that step, and now he puts it on the floor, and he puts that body up. He's at the basket. He's going to the foul line. It's bully ball. And he's found out that he can get the foul by doing that. He doesn't have to stand out there and shoot the threes all the time. But the key is he has to stay out of foul trouble.
Yeah.
He has to get them in foul trouble, and he has to stay out of foul trouble. But it's going to be a great series. And I say what I say, but I still tell you I'm rooting for the Knicks, so I must believe that the Knicks have a chance.
Right.
And I
Right.
do. And
So-
so they got to start Brunson. Who's going to Donovan going to guard Brunson?
Right.
I know Harden's not going to guard Brunson, right? And if those other guys just run and attack, it's going to be tough for them to stay, because OG has to get the ball and get FGAs. He cannot have 3 or 4 shots in a game.
Mm-hmm.
That's my feeling. And then now you got Mitchell Robinson coming off the bench. Ooh, they're Mr. Bully right there, right? So that they have a legitimate chance, and I'm hoping that they do.
So Coach, again,
I'm
I think the
also
Knicks are,
go ahead.
no, I think the Knicks are going to win the series. I think the concern for the Cavs, they had this knock on them, or this narrative around them, that they were a soft team. And you can tell they overcame that hurdle against Detroit in this series. They bullied the Pistons in Game 7. Yeah, the Pistons were probably physically and mentally tired. Cade Cunningham in particular, because he's carried the Pistons all season long. But I think the Cavs expended so much emotional and physical energy coming out of this Pistons series. Are they going to have anything left for the Knicks? I fully, you know how this is. You play game 7 on a Sunday night. You fly to New York last night. You have today to recover. Then you're right into a game 1 against a team that has been resting for the past week to 10 days. To me, game 1 is important, very important for both the Knicks and the Thunder to win their series in the respective conferences. My only concern for the Cavs, will they have enough? Because I think they got rid of the soft moniker that's been heaped on them. Will they have enough to go at the Knicks physically and mentally at the start of this series and on throughout the series?
Well, I don't buy into the narrative that, you know, Cade Cunningham had been leaned on all year long and he was tired. Man, everybody's tired of this. That's where the
True.
mental comes in. And that's where I rate New York over Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
They're mentally tough. They have some just straight up tough guys. They can go down the alley with me anytime, and I'm not even looking. Right? They got 4 or 5 of those guys. So I just think it's going to come down. The rest that they had also takes away the rhythm that they had. You know, that plays a big part. And I go back to when we played, we had to set 10 or 11 days because Philly went 7 games with Houston. And while we're at home resting, trying to recreate energy at practice and the competition level at practice that it was going to take to play in the game. We go back to Philly, we get beat both games. We have 30 and 34 turnovers in 2 games, right? We come back home, now we got rhythm back. Those games were throwaway. They were exhibition games for us. We didn't think of it that way because we thought we were in bad place. But then we got it together and we got our confidence back and they couldn't play with us. So, you know, it's a little bit of both. And the way I like it is that the first game is really meaningless. Even if the road team wins, you know, it's just the beginning of the series. Somebody had to win that game. It's not going to be a sweep. And usually the next game, the other team gets the win. It's 1-1 and you're going back to the other venue to play. And it just, you know, I just don't buy the narratives that are out there by a lot of people that say, the only one I do buy is out of rhythm rest. You like to play, even during the season, every other day is great. If you get a couple of days off, that's great. But if you take 4 or 5 days off, whatever you had is gone. You got to recreate it again.
Excellent points. The great Coach Lionel Hollins is hanging out with us on Beyond the Surface. Got to ask you about San Antonio and OKC, Coach. Who wins and how many games?
Well, I'm like everybody else. They tore SGA and OKC a new butthole during the season. Everywhere they played them, every kind of way they beat them, 4 out of 5. But it's a new day. It's like whatever happened in the regular season, you know, there's a screen that went down, and when you look over there, it's just a black screen. There's nothing behind it that can help you. You got to go do it again. And I think that it'll be a great series because of that. And but I am picking San Antonio. And I love OKC. I love that. Those 2 teams. I watch them whenever I can on TV. Those 2 teams, because I love the way they play. I love the way they move the ball, share, and help each other, and play the game to win versus just playing to get numbers.
Coach, I'm curious. Do you believe that the Spurs are the only team that can beat OKC in a 7-game series? With everybody healthy.
Can I go back to last year? How many series did OKC almost lose?
Well, the finals for sure.
The finals,
two series.
Denver,
that
yeah.
almost,
Yeah,
Denver
the Denver
and
series
Indiana.
went 7.
Yeah.
Yes, good call.
Denver.
they can be beat. They
Uh-huh.
have to execute and make all the plays to win. That's why they're the winners. Now they have to do it again, be the winners again, right? there's going to be a big test for them because this is a team that's going to challenge their ability to get to the paint. And they're going to have to shoot the ball extremely well. They don't have to shoot threes, but they're going to have to shoot the ball extremely well. And then, they're going to have to defend that team as well. And they can't get in foul trouble. They got a lot more depth than probably all the teams in the league. So they could absorb some of the foul trouble, but they want to stay out of foul trouble. And they got some matchup problems. And they got people that are going to be in front of, SGA and the other guys. But Jay Williams is coming back good. AJ Mitchell is my favorite. He's my favorite player. He's the best player in the NBA this year.
There you go. I'm here. There you go.
Stamp.
This guy
Love
was
the stamp.
sitting on a bench last year, and part of this year he got a chance to play, and he's shown that he's bona fide. It reminds me of SGA when he was with the Clippers. He wasn't getting the opportunity to do because he was young. He gets traded, and he becomes the man. I don't think this guy is going to get traded or become the man like that, but he's going to be because he can score, he dribbles, he makes plays, he's tough. Those are the kind of guys you like pulling off the bench and putting in the game when somebody gets hurt. And they show up and you're like, better than I thought, right?
A lot of people, Coach, don't remember. Like you said, he was in the rotation at the beginning of last year, but then he got hurt, right? And then it was
Yeah.
too late by the end of the season for him to be acclimated back into the rotation. But this year, he has taken advantage of every opportunity, whether Jalen Williams was healthy or not. AJ Mitchell is supplanted in that rotation. And ultimately, he might be the difference in this Spurs series, but I'm with you. I think the Spurs are going to win, but AJ Mitchell will make his mark in this
Well, you
Western
think about
Conference final.
Jay Williams is coming back, AJ Mitchell,
Mhm.
and then you got SGA, and then you got
Yeah.
Hogan, and then you got all those guys that just lay around on the perimeter and shoot threes.
Uh-huh.
Do it very well, and then they all defend and they all run. It's going to be a good series. It's
It's going to
not
be a good
going to be,
series.
I could see it going 7. I really could.
Coach Hollins,
let's
I got
talk-
one more question.
Yeah, go ahead,
Oh,
Aim.
please, go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, now, look, outside of these incredible conference finals, now that we've got the 4 teams, and I think a lot of us wanted to see those 4 teams at the end, a lot of fans out there in the NBA, there's one other major storyline outside of these games at this point, what's going to come to the head in the next couple of weeks, and that is the Giannis Antetokounmpo sweepstakes. But I want to ask you the question from the side of Milwaukee. We've debated this a lot on the show all year. Not about where Giannis is going, not with any of that. What should Milwaukee do, in your opinion? Do they need to get back a star and continue going down this road and try and build on somebody else? Or should they wipe the slate clean themselves, get back as many assets, draft picks that they possibly can, and start from the bottom? What would you like to see them do? What should they do?
Well, they probably are going to have to start from the bottom. I don't think if they keep him, what are they going to get around him? They were bad last year. I think the biggest mistake that Milwaukee made was firing the head coach when he had a 30-13 record. I don't know. I heard that Giannis was a little upset about this or that. That's when management has to step in and say, hey, you're winning. Isn't that what you're all about? You're fussing about how the coach says something or does something because you want to do it this way, but you're still, even if you won a championship, you're still a player. And coaches have to make decisions, but they got rid of him. Doc came in. They couldn't generate the defense that they thought Doc could do, and they didn't do very much offensively. And then Giannis was in and out, right? And so he's hurt, and he can't contribute the way he was. And that, it just fell apart. Some of the guys they had just weren't good enough to help him be on that level winning wise. But if I'm the general manager, I'm thinking, okay, we got Giannis. Can we get 2 first-round picks and maybe a high middle first round picks and maybe a third low, right? Who wants to do this for us? Or if we can get 3, we get 2 this year and 2 next year. We can't do that because you can't get back to back. But you hear what I'm saying. You hear what I'm saying. I'm just saying what's the most? But you got to have your scouts out there that scout the NBA, looking at teams and who they have that could really play if they were away from the group that they're with. See, there's a lot of guys when they leave that group, they're just average players. But there's a couple of guys that once they get that opportunity, can they step in and be something that could help us build back up to the level that we were on? But keeping him and having him be unhappy and not being able to build around it. If he's unhappy this year, he's going to really be unhappy next year when you can't put players around and help him win. And he's out there getting 38 and 14 rebounds and doing all that he can do and still losing. He's not going to be happy.
Coach, one more for you and we'll let you go. Could we get a story from the Grindhouse era? You, of course, the grind father. Just, a funny one, a Tony Allen, a Zach Randolph. I mean, you had characters on that team. Maybe take us into a practice, take us into a huddle, but do you have a funny Grindhouse story for us?
Well, I told you all my stories when I was on your show last time.
I know there's more in there. I know you got more.
I'll just I'll give you two. One is about Zach by himself, and I think I told you the story. But we're in OKC playing, and we lose a game in OKC, and it's during the playoffs, and I'm upset. It's a close game. We're fighting like crazy, and we come in the locker room, and I said, players are sitting, and I start talking. And I said, we got to be tougher than that. That's what we pride ourselves on, being tough. I said, Zach, man, you were under the basket and you had a chance to take a charge and you jumped out of the way. Zach stood up and started walking to me and he said, what are you saying? And he keeps walking and I trying to figure out, okay, what do I say to disarm him? I said, Zach, all I'm saying is Mike Conley is 6'1", weighs 175 pounds. He took a charge. You had a chance to take a charge, but you jumped out of the way. You're bigger than him and you're tougher than him. We all know that. He went and sat out. I asked one of my assistant coaches, I said, JJ, you were going to grab him before he got to me. But, the other story is with Tony and Zach. I could tell stories all day about all those guys. But Tony and Zach, Zach wanted to play 48 minutes. He wanted the ball every time down court. That was just Zach. And so I take him out of the game, and Zach walks over. The ball boy meets him at half court, gives him a towel, gives him his warm up. He walks by me and he throws the towel at my feet. And I don't say nothing. He's upset. Me saying something then wouldn't matter. It's just going to escalate. So he goes to the bench. Now I take Tony out of the game. And Tony is gambling, and I used to tell him, Tony, quit getting mad at everybody else for not helping you when nobody knows what you're doing. You got to at least tell what you're doing, right? And so I take him out of the game. He walks down the middle of the court from the other free throw line, through the jump circle, through the free throw circle, to the baseline, and makes a left turn and goes to the end of the bench. That's great. They both went set down. I didn't get beat up. Right? And so the next day at practice, we're watching film and everybody's getting critiqued. And afterwards, I said, Tony, Zach, I got something for both of you. Because you could talk to both of them in that setting and they would not be upset. But in the heat of the battle, both of them might choke you. I mean, and when I say that, there's other players that are like that too. Mark was close to that, but not on that level. I mean, they just are very competitive people, and their focus is on winning. And when you say something, it just doesn't fit. Well, anyway, I just want both of you guys to know something. Zach, don't think that I don't notice when you walk by me and throw your towel at my feet. Tony, I see you walk down the middle of the court and don't want to shake my hand. And I said, I understand both of you are mad at me, but I got one thing I want you to know. I took you out because I was mad at both of y'all. And Tony made the comment. He said, Coach, how did you know? I'm like, hey, I'm watching you walk from the other end. I want to shake your hand. I want to pat you on the butt, say I'm going to put you back in the game, but you don't want to hear nothing I have to say. So obviously I know. And they both laughed at it. And the team laughed because the team also do. It's just, but it's the personality of talented, competitive players. And I've never been upset at players telling me what they want because ultimately it's going to be my decision and they're going to have to accept it. And that's just the way it is. I always say, when they put head coach by your locker instead of what your name is, then you can coach a team. Or like Cotton Fitzsimmons used to tell me and Paul Westphal, when you guys get your team, we can run that offense. But as long as I'm coaching the team, we're running this offense. So I learned a lot of funny stuff from guys I worked for and played for. I got another story. This is not Grindfather. This is Jack Ramsey. We're in Milwaukee, and they got Brian Winters, and they got all the big guys that are setting picks for him, and he's running. I'm getting hitting the hip, hitting the shoulder, and he's just getting a shot off just as I get there. He's going to wind up with 38 for the night, but he's torching me, absolutely torching me. Jack Ramsey calls timeout. This is the fourth quarter, and we're sitting down. He says, Herm Gilliam. Herm was my backup. He said, I want you to go and get Dave Torzik. And he said, I want you to guard Brian Winters. He said, Train, you guard Quinn Buckner. I said, no, I got him. Let me. He says, you guarded him enough tonight. I was so mad I could have hit him. I always said, I'm not going to fight my coach. I'm not that kind of person anyway. But it was like, dang, you just hurt my feelings. You just knocked my ego down. They were down there in my socks. I had to pull them out of my socks. But he was right. We needed somebody else to try to stop him because I certainly couldn't that night.
Phenomenal. Coach, we love you. We would love to have you back on the show, soon, maybe finals times. And again, love the endeavor here with Memphis to unite Memphis and make it a much better community. You rock for that, man. We really appreciate you, Coach.